Okay, should this be the last one I think I read for today? Maybe yes. But it is posted Sunday, July the 3rd, 2021. Oh, yeah. Maybe I should. Yeah, anyway. This is 3,283. It's called The Big Blue Box of Memorabilia. I had more than one, but maybe I'll explain that in the poem. It starts out with a quote. I don't want to live as if living were a way of acquiring things. Lovely quote by Ali Warren. And this is part one, wherein I begin to describe to you some of what I feel about memory, a constant subject. The whole reason for writing, I would even say, at least initially, I find our various means and methods of retaining memory incredibly curious, bizarre, frustrating, and also of utmost relevance. So much of who we are is twinned with how we go about remembering. And while much of these inner workings transpire on sublevels or are generally outside of our consciousness, and it must be noted that even these, the subconscious tactics we have individually of retaining memory, are incredibly disparate. The variety of natural methods or ways in which we each go about keeping the important stuff with us on some level, even thinking about how we are doing it, are from everything I have seen and studied so disparate that our individual modes of keeping these memories with us could be said to be personalities in and of themselves. But as usual, I'm getting away from what I meant to say, which is that the devices we use to cognizantly assist ourselves to keep our heads that which we may need or want at some point to keep our heads in a way that which we in a way that we may need or want at some point later. I messed this up, I'm sure. Whatever methods we might utilize in doing so, and the list could be close to endless. Well, I strongly believe that our processes of accomplishing this is in relation to all and every other thing that we do as individuals. These ways in which we go about consciously accumulating each of the countless moments which we in a split second choose to or choose not to remember to keep for future reference are of such importance that it is the foundation upon who we are. It is central to who I am. For this profound reason, I try to keep at least some focus on, some awareness of it at all times. In fact, I believe it imperative that I do so, in as much as it is possible. That is, I always use all means necessary to keep my focus upon the mechanism that has me scraping the residue of certain aspects, certain moments, as they are transpiring, and then pack these items away for any future use in case I need to remember something, so to speak. And this I do no matter what else I may be doing. I believe that what we use to coax our bodies and our minds into keeping recollections of these moments with us until long after the events actually occurred is key to me, in fact everything. Each moment I encounter in life soon becomes something so ephemeral. It becomes a piece of the past, and the accumulation of all these moments equals who I am at any moment. And at each subsequent moment, each of us evolves into something that is unique that carries us into the next moment, in which, once again, we are a different being than the one who had only just previously been, and so on. If I am sounding repetitive or boring, so be it. I didn't really have the or boring in there. But anyway, um, then the repetition itself becomes the thread that holds it all together. For maintaining an awareness of this process, of its existence, and the mechanics by which it operates, is, therefore, everything. It becomes me. It is me. The very act of remembering anything is my function. My purpose is what gets me there. There being the hopeful and hopefully best possible next location, next moment, next me. It would be impossible for me or for anyone else to retain a memory of each and every experience within each and every moment in which we live. So, if one at least builds an awareness of this process, then one can consistently alter one's trajectory in ways And this won't always be the case. But as life goes on, if one keeps one eye on its existence, upon what we are doing to it, and with it, and within it, as I have suggested, and if one is always maintaining a particular and a practical focus on keeping as much of what we take for use in future moments, one does live and learn. One does, in a general sense, get better at doing just that. And so, in being thus, we are always altering our paths, at least more often than not, tweaking our courses more often than not, in incredibly subtle and minute ways that keep us on, theoretically, the most ideal path, the one that gets us to the next moment, which, if we are disciplined enough, almost always becomes a better moment than the one from which we have just emerged. If this is how I spend a majority of my existence, always with an eye on remembering and how I am remembering, then this being aware of the need to remember what we may actually need, in order that we may keep the movement going exponentially and at an incline towards better, rather than a decline towards something less or worse than what we just experienced, then we are always finding ways to better retain, and hence always becoming better, always bettering, experiencing life with the most satisfaction. It's not a constant thing, but in general, experiencing life with the most satisfaction and pleasure and good that we can possibly muster, figuring out how to increase this awareness in such a way that it allows us to somehow discern what it is that we should be retaining in the first place. It's a process. It never ends. And it gives me a growing sense of purpose. It clarifies my mission, allows me to hone in on every goal, and is always a paradox, a conundrum, a riddle. It is always exploring impossibilities to get at possibilities, and to continually twist one's mind in order to keep up with this incredible, never ending task is also to always be just on the verge of insanity, of dispersion, of irreconcilability, of truth, of love, of nirvana, of eternity. And believe me, this process keeps me satisfied enough, at the very least, that I am living as right as I can, and at most every turn, and crucially, that I am doing the best and only getting better. Doing my best and only getting better. Doubt can overwhelm this journey, can reduce visibility, but I believe in the process, and it is for this reason that I write. It is why I am a writer above all else. It is how I can call myself a poet. I write to remember. This is very self-absorbed, so theoretically, whatever. And while it might seem a rather, yeah, that's what I was talking about next. Right, it might seem a rather selfish thing. This always bettering myself, always remembering what I have been through, it can be terribly selfish, and the way can be horribly lonely, heartbreakingly so at times. What in the end keeps me from dizzily flailing about in a labyrinth of self is my belief that memory is not only something an individual retains to improve self, but it is also a thing which you and I carry together, so that we accumulate it together for and with our families, for and with our communities, for and with our species, and for and with all that is, which is the vast home in which we live, of which everything, living and unliving, is a part. And the whole of the universe and all of the vast expanse that is, was, and shall be, is always evolving into something altogether not what it presently is, will never be at all what it always has been, and wouldn't be at all what it heretofore will be, without the very existence of you, without that which you see before you, and which I call myself. We are of such importance that without you or without me, we, who I am, who you are, who we are, simply would not be. And like I said, I find this incredibly important and relevant. It shapes me, has me working diligently as is even possible at doing whatever it is that is the best that I am and can be. It is not necessary that you feel the way that I do about these things, but is something I am more than happy to relay. And on such a beautiful day as today, what a better way to spend time than engaging with another human? And no matter what your perspective on this, what may seem to you bloated and haughty, what may seem to you a bloated and haughty subject, how can I possibly not feel the kinship that exists, the magnetic pull that exists between the two of us? It would be impossible for me to think, for more than the briefest moment, that I'm alone in this adventure, this accumulation of our remembrances that keep us like ship's compasses, always aware of from whence we have come, of where we are at this very moment, and of the most appropriate course we are to take as we move forward. In the end, I put in parentheses and in italics, to be continued, colon. For more of the story, drop by tomorrow. It's a little plug I do occasionally at the end of these things in the poems themselves.